young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be. But somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Yes, hello there, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're listening to this show today. Thank you so much for being here. It is Join Up Dots, it is episode 560, and I'll be honest with you, I don't do this very often. I think I've never done this before, but I've actually opened a beer because it is so sweaty. It's so sweaty, but I'm all right. I'm a professional. It's alcohol free, and I'll be able to push through to develop and design the show that you want to listen to, because we've got a lovely lady on the other end of the line today, and she is somebody who has got a fascinating background in so many ways. She's got a background in engineering, marketing, and management, and she's got a background that doesn't start in the Americas, but certainly has ended up there. Now, with that background, engineering, marketing, and management, it's led to her creating a business around, and I'll let you think about it for a little while, lead generation, personal branding, communications, public speaking, social media marketing, and digital marketing. Yeah, you didn't see that coming, did you? And I guess neither did our guest today, but it's true to say that at her core, she has creativity flooding through her veins. As she says, I was always an artist and writer at heart, but thought that marketing was the best way to make a living doing something that required creativity. After a few years working in an insurance company, I realised that the corporate environment wasn't for me, and that's when I made tough decisions to leave the comfort zone of my corporate job and start my own business. But her adventure had a rough start. There were many unknowns, including her ultimate mission, which is the amazing part of what Join Up Dots has become for so many people across the world. It's where belief grows into action, and action grows into whatever you want for yourself. You can't see the real dream right at the very beginning. You just have to find the vague direction you want to go in and then start walking. So how did our guest manage to meander her way through the obstacles and create something amazing for her clients, and of course the world? And when she looks back, does she have those, man, whoa, what was I thinking? I could have done it so much quicker now, thoughts? Well, let's find out as we bring onto the show to start joining up dots with the one and only Cloris Kylie.
Wow,
Good
David,
morning.
what an intro. Thank you so much.
I'll be honest, I've edited that a bit out. A fly flew in my mouth halfway through there. It might have sounded professional. I did a little bit of editing in the mix, but yeah, a fly went straight in my mouth. That's the first time that's ever happened as well, Cloris.
Well, that's a sign of good luck. You know, here in Connecticut, that's what it means.
What, eating a fly? No, I can't believe that's good luck anywhere. So in Connecticut, what do you do on a daily basis that excites you away from your business? Because I'm very focused on the last few shows of people that have got so involved in a business that they love that they've had to fight back and gain a life again. Is that a problem with you? And what do you do in Connecticut?
Well, it has been a problem, I think, for all entrepreneurs. So, like, sometimes I remember one day I had been working so hard on the launch of one of my programs, and I was exhausted. And I remember I woke up and I said, okay, I had it. I'm just going to cash out of my savings, retirement savings, and just go disappear. Nobody will ever know where I am. And I'll be, kind of meandering around the world for a couple of years until I run out of money. And then I'll figure out what to do. So I was at that point, and it happened, and then that's when I realized that I had to just take a break. And since then, I've been kind of like more religious about taking time for myself once in a while, just, go away for the weekend. And there's something I do every day, David, that I think is super important, and that's to take time for myself right at the beginning of the day. So I wake up, and the first thing I do is either go for a walk outside or a bike ride or something that kind of puts me in that positive mood and enthusiasm that I need to make things happen during the day.
I find it very difficult to do that. I sort of open my eyes and I have a shower, and then instantly is, have you woken the kids up? And then we get the kids up and we get them out to school. And I find it very difficult to fit that in unless I get up at the crack of dawn, which I do in the summer, and I enjoy that when you get up very early. But it's difficult in the winter, isn't it? And Connecticut must be the same. In the winter, it's a bit of a drag, isn't it? Getting up and going out for a walk first thing in the morning, or maybe not.
You know, it is tough to go out because it's so cold. Sometimes we get wind chills of, negative numbers. So that I definitely don't go out then, but at least I do some sort of exercise and I do have my weights and I do, push-ups and something to get the blood flowing. As long as you feel that you're doing something for yourself, even if it's just sitting down with a cup of tea, which I do in the winter while I watch the weather forecast and the snow that is coming, then that's what matters, though, that you feel that it's not just work, that there's life beyond that.
Now, you've got an accent which isn't pure American, so I imagine that you have come from somewhere hot and exotic and you've ended up in Connecticut. What? Why?
Yeah,
Why?
You're right, I was born in Venezuela, and it's an interesting story because my family is part Lebanese and part Spanish, and they all happened to migrate to Venezuela, and then my parents met, and I was born there and grew up there, and that's when I went to college. That's when I moved to Connecticut. So I have, I think, a really broad view of different cultures and stuff, which is cool when you want to interact with people from all over the world, like you.
It's you can do that anywhere though, can't you? I speak to everyone. I was just speaking to a guy who has moved to Costa Rica, and I spoke to a lady beforehand, and she's moved to somewhere hot and tropical. Every entrepreneur I speak to seem to have a vibe of, number one, being location independent, and number two, following the sun, which you can't blame them. So what has your environment given you that you couldn't get from taking your business, which I imagine is transferable? You can actually carry it around with you. What does Connecticut give you?
It gives me a lot of nature. I love being out. Like as I said, I go out on my bike ride, and I have a bike path right next to where I live. I love to hike, and we have the mountains here, and the coast is really close. So I guess all the nature is here where I need it. And I tell you, every winter I think, okay, maybe I should move to Florida. That's the typical thought every single winter. But then I remember the hot, muggy summers in Florida and the bugs, and I said, yeah, maybe I'll just stay in Connecticut. So that's why I've been here for many years.
Okay, so let's sort of really delve into your story, because it is fascinating for me, because you had a career, you worked towards a career, but you got to that point when you said, no, hang on, this isn't for me. And I understand what you did totally. You looked at a life based around creativity and thought, well, the best way of doing that is getting it out to the world. So marketing would be the perfect thing, because we see it time and time again. People create marvelous products, but then nobody finds out about it. When you look back on that, was that a big win? Although it may not seem like it because you've moved on to different things, was that starting point one of your dots that you think, yeah, I'm glad for that?
Yes. And you know what? That dot wasn't that clear for me. Like, it's not like my life has been, like nobody's life. It hasn't been a straight line, and you know what's next. And it was easy to connect, and you know where you're going. At some point, I didn't know. Like when I remember when I left my corporate job, I didn't intend to be an entrepreneur. It's not like I said, oh, I'm leaving, I'm going to start my own company. Yeah. It's just that I left, and kind of life took me in that direction. And that's one thing I learned, that sometimes things don't work out and you're beating yourself up and you say, oh my God, I failed and life is horrible. But somehow you end up being in a place that you would never not want to have experienced. Like you and I would not be speaking today if my corporate job had been better and I had been doing, what I wanted to do a little bit closer to that, because I still wouldn't have been doing this, which I love, which is helping people, having complete control over my schedule, and just feeling that I'm making a real difference in the world, So I think it's difficult when things happen and you feel terrible about it. But just remember, though, that you never know where you're going to end up. And that next place might be super exciting.
I think everything is exciting, to be honest. I have days, exactly like you have. Anyone who's created something from scratch has days of, oh my God, that was too much effort. I've worked for a whole week and haven't earned a single penny. The early days are a struggle. But when you wake up every morning and you think, yeah, I'm going to go again, that's a big indicator that you're on the right path, isn't it? And once you get that time freedom, that you realize that actually you can go out for a ride on your bike in the middle of the morning and you don't have to ask a boss for permission, you can never go back, can you, Cloris?
Exactly, yes. And what happens is, I think our economy and the world is just moving in that direction, though. People having more and more control of what they're doing, their schedule. And I would say it's not like everybody's going to be an entrepreneur in the future, but we're going to have more control over what we do, and our ideas become more of a currency. So you might be working in a corporate environment, but if you have brilliant ideas, then you can do all kinds of amazing stuff. You can have more control. You can make your ideas, be implemented. So I think we're moving in that direction, and it's not going to be overnight, but I see that trend, and it's just growing, and it's an idea that cannot be stopped, like Dr. Wayne Dyer used to say.
So how do you translate these ideas actually into products and income producing activities? Because that's a struggle. You get this idea. I could have 1,000 ideas a day. Really, things are popping into my head left, right, and centre. But I know that I've got to get a website built. I've got to get some kind of social profile. I've got to build connections with people. How do you actually take it from an idea to something that is workable for you?
I would say it requires that you actually see what's needed, and if your idea is something that can be profitable, especially if we're talking about like having a business, right? Because you might feel like you have a great idea, but then when you're going to share it with other people, they don't see the value in it. I mean, we see it all the time. I love that show Shark Tank, and when you have a bunch of entrepreneurs and they go and they pitch their ideas to the investors, and many times those ideas, they are in love with their ideas, but they're really not feasible or not marketable. So, of course, they don't get the investment. So in our case, I think every time I have an idea, I ask myself, do I really know that this is needed? And if I don't, which is all the time, then I have to go out there and ask people and see what they say. Because there's nothing better than getting direct feedback from those around you, from the people you want to serve. And if you get positive feedback, then explore it more. If not, it's not worth your time. And I would say that there's one thing to add to that, though. If you try something, an idea, and you try to implement it, and it doesn't work, that doesn't mean that you yourself as a person are not worth it, though. It's just that idea didn't work. And you learned what didn't work, and now you can look for something that works. So it's just a matter of kind of keep trying and tweaking things until you find a winner. That's how it goes.
But if you are in a corporate gig and you're listening to these podcasts and you're thinking, right, I take that advice, I take what Cloris is saying, and I've got to get my idea out to people. How would you recommend to do that first step? Because once you've been in it a while, you know the ways to do it, and you know that you can connect on LinkedIn and Facebook and forums and all these different places. How would you do it for somebody totally new in a cubicle, listening to these podcasts and wanting to get that valuable feedback?
Well, the first thing you got to do is just talk to the people around you. I would just talk to all your friends and your family, and even better than that, before you go out and talk to people, ask yourself, my idea can serve who? Who exactly do I want to serve? And it's common that when you have this great idea, you feel that everybody's going to love it, right? So you feel, yes, everybody's going to love my book, or my system that I have, my product, but not necessarily. So that's when you have to step back and focus on a small group of people and niche audience, and that really pays off. That's a mistake I made, because I wanted to serve everybody, and I thought everybody would just love what I had to offer, and that was wrong. And I wasted a lot of time and money, doing that. So I would say, ask yourself, who exactly do you want to help? Like, there's this woman who came to me, and she wanted to help people in transition. So I said, well, that sounds pretty interesting. So tell me what people in transition do and what they're at. And she said, well, I help people who are graduating from college. They are in transition, right, to go to the corporate world or whatever it is they're going to do next. I also help people who are retiring because they're in transition, right? And I also help people who are going through a divorce, because that's a transition. And I said, okay, well, now I understand why you don't get anybody asking to buy your services. And the thing is that you cannot speak the same language, right, for all these people. So I think that's essential, that you really decide who you want to help first, and then ask for their advice. If you don't know people who meet those requirements or that description, then just find them. Facebook is great. You can just join groups on Facebook where your ideal audience hangs out. It could be a LinkedIn group, or if you have a forum, online forum, you can do that as well. Or just a meetup. There's a meetup events in which you can network with people, and make sure those meetups are places where your ideal audience or client is going to be. That way you can get feedback, you can meet new people, and every time you're in business on your own, and I think even if you're in the corporate environment, it's all about creating relationships. We are in the business of building relationships, and I'll never forget that, and it's one of the best pieces of advice I've been giving.
So when you're in the corporate environment, you're sitting there at your desk and you're looking around at all your other colleagues and you think, I'm not happy anymore. I don't know why. I don't want to do this. Did you just leap, or did you transition over a period of time? There seems to me to be two ways of doing it. Number one is try to earn more income than you were getting, or try to reduce the income that you're spending. How did you do it?
Well, I actually trusted what people told me at the time. What happens is I was ready to move on to another position that better matched my marketing skills. Is what I wanted to do. So when I went to my manager, she said, "Oh, sorry, we can't let you go. And we don't know when you'll be able to move." I would say at least a year or 2 years. I said, "Wow, that's really long." Because I had been given an offer by another department, the marketing department. So I went back and said, "Hey, this is what they told me." And those managers said, "Well, don't worry, Cloris, just quit, and then we'll hire you again." I said, "Really?" Like, "Yes, go ahead." So I said, "All right."
Let's just slow down to this. Yeah, well, I've got to slow down to this, right? So managers, generally, I don't trust them at all. So when they said to you, "Just quit," and then we're hired, did you trust them? Did you believe them? Because I don't think I would have done.
I know. Well, I did. I'm a very gullible person, so I said, "All right, I trust you. You really want me, it looks like." So I went ahead and I quit. And a week later, I hadn't heard from them. So I said, "Oh, I wonder what's going on." So I called them up, and guess what? They never returned my calls, and that was it. So I said, "Okay, I guess I'm out of a job."
What's their names, Cloris? What's their names? Let's out them on the show. These horrible people. Tell us their names.
Their names? Oh, I don't think. Well, one of them was Kate, and I don't know what Kate is doing at this point, but yeah, I don't think she feels proud of that moment. I hope. But yeah, I never heard from them again. I even emailed, no word from them.
Kate, if you're listening to this, you should be ashamed of yourself. Now, Cloris was very gullible and very naive. I wouldn't have trusted you at all. But you can't do that to people. It'll come back to bite you. And now look at Cloris. She's an uber successful person. And so you did her a favour. You did her a favour, but you did it in the wrong way, Kate.
I know, yeah, I hear you. And but now that I'm here today, like you said, she did me a favor, because at that point I had to figure out what to do. I said, "Oh, well, I gotta get a new job, or find a way to make money." And in the meantime, I was looking, sending applications to get a new job, and then a friend of mine said, "Oh, can you just help out my daughter? She's taking calculus and she's in a lot of trouble." And because I have that engineering background, I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll help her out." And my friend is like, "I'll pay you." I said, "Well, all right." And I loved working with this girl, and she really learned the math stuff. And that's when I thought, well, maybe I can teach math to other students. And I started teaching other people, my friends' friends, and all of a sudden I had all these people learning math. And later on, SAT prep. SAT is a standardized test that students take to go to college. And that's when I saw myself as a possible business owner. That was the first time that I said, "Oh my God, maybe I can have my own business." That first time, that was like a spark. It's like, wow, maybe I can just make my own money. I don't have to go back to the corporate world.
And was that a real kind of moment when the clouds opened and the angels, oh, and they all started singing around you? Or was it just a very vague niggle in your stomach that actually you might be able to pull it off?
It was vague because of course I had another person come in, another person who was referred to you by this person, and I saw the progress. And I think that's important, David, like when we're doing something new, to really notice the progress we make. Because sometimes, like, if I look at myself where I am right now and something happens that I didn't expect, that is not good, maybe people didn't sign up for my course, I might feel like I'm a failure. Like, oh, wow, maybe I'm not meant to do this. But then if I compare where I am today to where I was, 5 years ago, I see, wow, I have really accomplished a lot. So that's what happened back then. I was noticing that progress. And that's what allowed me to realize one day, I'm just going to grow this. Okay, this is going well. I'm going to hire some more other instructors, and that's what I did. And I started to think about ideas to grow my business, and that's when the ideas happen. When you pay attention to the little improvements, to the step-by-step, everything you accomplish every day, that's when the awesome ideas come to you and you feel excited. And that feeling of excitement, the little butterflies in your stomach, that's when you know that you got something.
Oh, I think this is brilliant. I think this is totally brilliant. And this really buys into what Join Up Dots is all about, that it's all little steps and improvements and struggles and trials and tribulations. But as long as you work towards something, more often than not, you can get that. And I totally believe that. And I do think it's one of the problems, Cloris, that entrepreneurs have, that we all look forward all the time. We're always looking for the next thing, the next day, the next this and the next that. And we don't spend enough time, do we, just looking over our shoulder thinking, wow, we've come a long way. This has really been an upskilling in this last 3 years. And what I can do now, God, I wouldn't have been able to come anywhere near this at the very beginning. Give us ourselves a round of applause. But we don't do that, do we?
We don't, and it's important that you keep record of what you have done in the past so you can compare, and that's what I do. I keep all my old videos and audio and even the blog posts that I wrote from years ago. And when I feel like that confidence is kind of wavering a little bit, then I go back to those files and I read those posts and I watch those videos and I go, oh my God, okay, I'm much better now.
And do they embarrass you? Do they sort of make you cringe? Because I go back and listen to every single show of Join Up Dots, even the early ones. And I enjoy them, but I'm not happy with my performance because obviously you grow, you progress, you develop. But I still like the fact that they're out there and anyone can go over. Because it's a big part, I do believe this, and I say this so many times, it's a big part of success, being able to share your failures and your trials and your tribulations. And I love the fact that in podcasting land and in blogs and whatever, if you want to delve back, it's out there, isn't it? You can see the improvement, which is great for somebody new who's thinking, I wouldn't mind doing what Cloris has done. But she looks so perfect. She looks so professional. Go back a couple of years and you can find your first workings. Totally different ballgame.
Oh, definitely. And there's something important, though, like as we build our own, I guess, our branding, as our personal branding, is that we have to find that balance between authority and how vulnerable you want to be. Because if you put yourself on a pedestal and say, hey, I'm the best thing in the world and look at me and all the stuff I have. And, of course, people say, I don't want to follow this person. I don't want to listen to what they have to say. I will never be able to do that. So you have to be vulnerable and show that you also failed. You have the same trouble. You wake up in the morning, you do the same thing like everybody else, but not so much that people will look at you and say, yeah, I don't think he or she can help me. Maybe she doesn't know her stuff. So it's a matter of showing your true self and also showing that you know your stuff, that you have learned and you can now share that knowledge with other people.
Yeah, it's funny when it comes together for you, isn't it? I've been talking a lot recently about saying building a business isn't as much about connecting with your customers, it's about connecting with yourself. It's about you finally buying into your skills, your talents. When it comes to podcasting, I don't think there's anybody out there that can teach it as quickly and as professionally and as cheaply as I do. Absolutely, I would say that. I've gone through so many of the top guys' courses, and they're buying this bit of equipment and that bit of equipment, and they're doing this and they're doing that. You don't need any of it. But it took me a long time to be able to actually say that no, when it comes to podcasting, I know me stuff, and I'd be willing to share that with anyone. So you do have to connect with yourself, don't you, before you can start sort of really gaining your value in the world.
Exactly. And connecting with yourself involves realizing that you have a lot of value to share. And that's why my motto is reveal your magnificence. I think many times we don't even realize that we have a gift, or we think that our gift is not really good enough, so we hide it. It's like baking these amazing chocolate chip cookies, and you eat them in secret, watching TV at night, and nobody ever figures out that you bake, So it's about believing and realizing that you have a gift, and it's okay to share it with some other people. And yes, some people will not appreciate it, and that's fine, but most people will, and if you, at first, when you share your gifts, people don't appreciate it, then try to connect with other people who support you. I think, I never hang out with somebody I don't want to be like. And I love that too. Like, sometimes when I'm in the presence of someone else, I said, would I want to be like this person? And if the answer is no, then I try to limit the time that I spend with that person.
Now, if we actually look at your business, I was looking at it this afternoon at your website, and there's so many avenues, there's so many different sort of income streams that you can sort of build into your life. But the core thing is, as you say, reveal your magnificence. Business coaching and training to boost your visibility and expand your client base. Now, you've done some remarkable stuff, and you've got on television, and you've been on podcasts, and you've been shown on websites like Tiny Buddha and Addicted to Success with millions of followers. How did you do that? Because that's not something that occurs overnight. Getting on Join Up Dots is not something that occurs overnight, Cloris.
Well, it's such an honor to be here, David. And, I think I had no idea how to do any of this stuff. I didn't even know how to write a blog. The first time I wrote it, somebody told me, you got to go to Blogger and you open an account. So I said, okay, let me go that. And, I had no idea what to say in my blog. I just read a book and wrote about the book I had read. I really knew nothing, right? But the thing I did, though, that helped me is that I sought advice from people who kind of came to me. And that's why it's important that you stay positive and kind of keep an open mind and a broad focus, because maybe you'll connect with somebody who's going to show you the direction that you need to go to. And that person in my case was Reed Tracy. He is the CEO of Hay House. And I remember listening to him speak, and I was listening to him because I love personal development. And, Wayne Dyer, I consider him one of my mentors, and read all his books and all that stuff. And he was saying, if you want to succeed, you have to have what he called a platform, a group of people who know you, who trust you. I had no idea what that was. And then I realized that, yes, the only way to share my message was to build some sort of community, some people who knew about me. And that's when I said, well, what do I need to do to get there? Because there's something that happens, like you look at all this stuff, where you want to be at the end, like your final destination. And it seems like it's impossible. It's like, okay, I will never be able to do that. And then you don't take action. But then if you say, okay, I don't have this, what are the components to get to where I want? And what is the first thing I need to do to get it done? So instead of saying I will never get there, you say, okay, what do I need to do first? And take that first step. And once that's done, you will see, you either will meet somebody or will see a piece of information that will lead you in the right direction. That's how I started my podcast, actually, Magnificent Time. I was browsing through LinkedIn, and I saw this lady I knew, one of my connections. She said, oh, here I am on Blog Talk Radio. It's like, oh, what is that? So I checked it out. It's like, oh, that sounds great. I can do this too. Yes, so it's all about paying attention to what's around you, and you'll see the opportunities.
Perfect. Let's play some words that summarize that perfectly. Here she is, Oprah Winfrey.
The way through the challenge is to get still and ask yourself, what is the next right move? Not think about, oh, I got all of this stuff. What is the next right move? And then from that space, make the next right move and the next right move. And not to be overwhelmed by it, because you know your life is bigger than that one moment. You know you're not defined by what somebody says is a failure for you, because failure is just there to point you in a different direction.
It's so true. I listen to that almost every day. And what she's saying at her core is ultimately you can only fail if you give up. As long as you keep on going and gain the feedback that perceived, and I'm doing that little quotey business with my fingers, perceived failure brings you, then you are dead in the water. But if you just keep on moving forward, you're gonna achieve something. It may not be the global dominating dream that you have at the beginning, but more often than not, actually, it's a bigger dream than you have, because you start in a kind of a small mindset, then you build the success around you, and you start thinking, blimey, I think I'm onto something here, and I can really sort of go. Is your dream a lot bigger now you've started? Did you have that small mindset at the beginning, Cloris?
David, all I wanted to do was, at the beginning, yes, it was a small mindset. I just wanted to make money, right? In the meantime, while I found a job, that's when I started my business. As my business changed and I started to serve different people, then I saw the possibilities. And that's when you start to see yourself making a bigger difference. And I think it's true, as you said, that you kind of grow from that small mindset to a bigger one, and a bigger one. It just kind of builds. It's like a big, a snow and avalanche. You have a little bit of snow that turns into this huge avalanche, and you can't stop it, because then it's the momentum that you build with your attitude, with, again, just paying attention to things around you. And once you're there, it cannot be stopped. You cannot be stopped, because you have the enthusiasm and that internal force that will take you to wherever you want to be.
And it is hugely exciting, isn't it? I turn on the microphone, and I don't know if you feel the same way when you're doing your show, but I feel the center of the world. I feel like everything is coming to this point, and I'm channeling something bigger than myself, which I've never felt that. I never felt that in corporate work at all, ever. I used to do training courses that used to go really well, and I'd get in the flow and really enjoy it. But I'd never felt absolutely integral to something big. Did you feel that?
Yeah, it's true. I completely relate. And there's a point at which that line between your life and your work kind of starts to fade. And that's when you know you're doing something that comes from inspiration. And when you know that, you're changing one life. Like, I remember the first time I got a positive feedback about my book, and this man who emailed me and said, "Thanks to you, I lost 80 pounds, and now I'm moving down to Florida to start a new life." It's like, wow, really? I'm making that kind of a change in somebody else's life. Then it didn't matter if I reached, 1 million people. I had made a difference in the life of one person. And that's just beautiful. And it's something that is tough to get in the corporate world. And I'm sure it's possible, though. Everything is possible. But yes, there's nothing like that feeling.
Are you past the sort of humble stage? Because I know at the beginning, when I used to have people contacting me saying that they loved the show and they loved this and that their life has changed because of listening to it, and thank you for doing the coaching, I used to kind of think that they're only saying that. They're only saying that because it's a nice thing to say. And I think it was kind of ingrained from corporate land. I never totally bought into when anyone said anything nice to me, because I always totally bought into when they were saying things not nice about you. It was easier to believe the bad stuff than the good stuff. It took me a long time to work through that mentally, to the point where I think, yeah, great, thank you, brilliant. That's exactly what I wanted when I started. Have you struggled to move through that mentally, that when somebody says something nice to you, you almost pushed it back?
You're right. Like, sometimes I say, is she being honest? Yeah, probably. Yes, but I do have that self-doubt. But, in most cases, though, people are just so kind that all I get is this feeling of exhilaration and excitement. Like even this morning, I sent out a new campaign, like a new email to my subscribers. And I immediately got this email back from one of them, Kristen, and she said, "Wow, Cloris, thank you. You always share this great information." And just that, it's like, wow, she made my day. So I think, when you get a positive feedback from somebody, just believe it. If it's not true, well, whatever, who cares, right? As long as you feel that that's empowering you to keep doing something good, then that's all that matters.
So what would be the sensible time frame for somebody new starting a business, in your point of view? They're starting from scratch. They haven't got a website. They haven't got anything. They've just got an idea. And you hear that people say you can do it in 6 months and 6 weeks and all that. I know what I'm going to say afterwards. What would you say?
I would say you'll make fast progress, but it will seem like it's really slow. And you'll be like, okay, when is this going to happen? And when am I going to get where I want to be? And, I tell you, it takes a while. As Reed Tracy says, I always remember what he said too, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. So you see all those people out there, like with, these great platforms and, wonderful businesses. And you go, wow, why can I do that? Like, what's wrong with me? Like, it's not that. It's just that you have to build up to that moment. So I would say if you're starting out just with one idea, you should expect to be working on that idea for at least 2 years, just so to get to that point that all the elements and all those pieces have come into place. And it might seem like more than that or less, depending on what you're paying attention to. But the matter is that it's not about looking at the 2 years or the 3 years. It's about saying to yourself, what's next? What do I need to do next to get to where I want to be? And sometimes it'll seem like it takes forever, but be patient. As long as you stay focused and you're really driven by inspiration, by passion, then you'll keep going. Otherwise, you'll quit. If you're doing something just for the money and so forth, you'll be frustrated and leave, and it'll be just another bad corporate job. So I think it's important to really be inspired by what you do, because it is hard work, it's long hours, but you'll love it. You'll love the results that you get out of it.
No, I agree with that totally. I would say 3 years. If somebody said to me, I want to start something from scratch, I would say to them, expect 3 years. 3 years of working and doing other stuff, whether you have to deliver pizzas or teach math or whatever to sort of cover that shortfall in income. Do it, right? Because those 3 years will pass really, really quickly. And you will have dark moments, but the light is always around you if you're doing what you want to do. This job here, I'm fortunate. It pays me very, very well. It's going really, really well. But I'd do it for nothing. I really would. It's so much part of me now that I can't imagine doing or not doing this show. And that touches in exactly what you're saying, isn't it? That allows you to bypass that frustration when you're only trying to go after the money.
It's true, and that's the difference between motivation and inspiration. That when you're motivated, yes, you have this goal and you kind of work hard for it. When you're inspired, that idea takes you. It takes you and it moves you to where you want to be. So yeah, passion is essential. And although it's essential, though, if you're passionate about something, you might take the wrong approach and just create something that is necessarily not needed in the market. But that's fine, because the core of who you are, if you really want to make a difference, will remain the same. So just remember that. Just even though you have a passion, if you fail at the beginning, it's fine. You can always find a way around it and be fueled by your passion.
Let's bring on Steve Jobs. Here he is.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever, because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart even when it leads you off the well-worn path, and that will make all the difference.
So the path that you've been on, is it truly your path? Did you look at it and think, yeah, this is absolutely what I should be doing with my life?
It is my path. And you know why? Because I'm the only person who has created it. I believe that we create our own reality with the thoughts that we have every day and the actions that we take. So even though some horrible things have happened to me, and it's like, oh man, why me? I'm a nice person. Then I realized that, hey, I took action and I thought thoughts that took me to that place. So you are designing your own life, and whatever happened in the past doesn't mean that it has to be repeated in the future. So you could choose a different thought right now and take a different action right now that will take you in a different direction and that will create a different life if what it is right now is not working for you. So I think, yes, the path I'm on is the path that I created. And I continue building that path every single day just by talking to you and building that path as well.
And what would be your big dot? I asked literally every single guest this story, but when you look back over all your life leading to where you are now, what was the dot that really kicked it off?
The dot was the need to be independent, to overcome one of the biggest personal challenges I've had in my life when everything was shaken. At that point, because I was had my business, and then I lost my marriage. It was like everything I believed that was kind of stable for the future was gone. And going through that personal challenge then kind of shook me up and said, the only person who can decide what happens next is me. And that was a big challenge that resulted in big growth. So yes, I would say the bigger the challenge, the bigger the growth. And that was my big dot, I guess, in my life. And I am here today just because of that.
So do you think you wouldn't be the same person today if you were still in that marriage?
I wouldn't be at all. I wouldn't be talking to you. I think I would have done something different. I would have probably maybe gone back to corporate because that's what my husband at the time wanted. He wanted more stability and so forth. So I was thinking about it. It's like, oh well, maybe I should just go back to my corporate world type. And that thought actually made me feel dead inside. I remember that. So yes, I would say big challenges. Those are tough, but they'll make you grow the most.
Because I couldn't go back into a job now. I know I'm totally unemployable. There's no way that I could be at my desk when somebody tells me and not be able to go off and do what I want. And there are restrictions. We're not making it, it's not plain sailing all the time. But I couldn't have someone telling me what to do. I really couldn't. Could you?
I couldn't. It's you just get to a point that you love being in control of your own life. I mean, nobody wants to be put in a cage. And so when we feel that we don't have that freedom, then we, as I said, you feel that inside. At the same time, though, if you're in a situation in which you have to stay in a corporate job just so you can secure your finances while you make your dreams come true, it doesn't mean that you have to feel like you have a terrible life and just be in a bad mood, because then that will block your ability to see opportunities. So it's a matter of saying, I'm here now. I'm going to do my best job. I'm going to see who I can connect with here at this job, because maybe that person would lead me where I want to be. So I would say life is this moment and how you feel about it. So how is your life going right now? If you don't like it, then you got to change that. And that starts with your thoughts. And that's why, David, I'm a firm believer that we definitely create our own reality.
So just before we send you back in time on the Sermon on the Mic, because we're at the end of the show now, it's gone really, really quickly, this one. Where are the dots leading in your life? Have you got bigger and bigger plans? What's happening in the life of Cloris?
What I see is making a bigger impact in the lives of those around me and helping other entrepreneurs get to where I am and to where I want to be. So there's nothing that produces more satisfaction than seeing somebody who had an idea, who's getting to that place where they feel that, yes, they can make a great living doing what they love. So I want to expand my impact and help more people. And that's all I want. I just want to make a difference. And, I know that things will not go according to plan in the future, and that's all right. And I know I will feel impatient as I try to achieve my goals. And that's all right, because, if I'm driven by passion, I'm driven by love for what I do. And it's exciting, though. It's an exciting time.
It is, and it's going to get so much better for you. I can actually feel that. Well, this is the end of the show, and this is the part that we call the sermon on the mic, when we send you back in time to have a one-on-one with your younger self. And if you could go back in time and speak to the young Cloris, what age would you choose and what advice would you give? Well, we're going to find out, because I'm going to play the theme tune, and when it fades, you're up. This is the sermon on the mic.
With the best bit of the show, the sermon on the mic, the sermon on the mic.
All right. So, well, Cloris, I'm going to tell you that you are right out of college and you don't know what to do. And I would say you want to do what other people want you to do, but there's no need to do that. The need to please everybody is just not, it's not real. And you cannot make everybody like you. It's impossible. So you might as well do something so you like yourself instead. So instead of trying to do what everybody expects you to do, why don't you, for a change, do something that you like to do for yourself? Also, stop hanging out with people that you don't like just because you feel bad and you don't want them to feel rejected, or because you want to be polite. Instead, just hang out with people you would want to be like. And those people might not be right next to where you are, but it's your job to find those people. And the people who are not serving you, the people who make you feel bad about yourself, maybe those are the people you don't want to spend that much time with. Start building relationships from the start, because the world is about who you know, it's about the relationships you have, and you are basically a product of the people you hang out with. So being with other people who criticize you or who are complaining all the time, is not going to serve you. So it's just time to say goodbye to them, send them a silent blessing, and then find the people, your tribe, who you want to be like and who you want to be with. Also, when you interact with people, some people will reject you and hurt you, but that is just part of life. So it's a matter of saying, okay, that didn't serve me, I'm moving on to the next chapter. And when things seem that they are terrible and it's the end of the world, then realize that there's something much better awaiting for you. It's just a matter of, dry your tears and get up and shake off the dust because you fell, and just saying, okay, what's next? What can I do next to have a good life? And also remember that you don't know it all. Even though you feel that you do, then you don't know it all. And it's a matter of every day learning a little bit more and seeking the advice of people who actually know more than you, believe it or not. And when you find yourself saying, yeah, I know, that's a sign that you don't know. So just listen to what people have to say, people who have been there. Find a mentor, find somebody who's done it and who has succeeded doing what you want to do, and then listen to them. Because even though you feel that you have a better way, people who are there, they have experienced all the bad stuff. So now it's your turn to use what they know. And at the same time, know that, yes, you'll make mistakes, because sometimes the only person who can teach you a lesson is yourself. And you'll learn that lesson by failing and by realizing what you don't like. Also, when something happens that you don't like or that is painful, just remember, it's like you're testing different things in life, and you go out and you try different desserts or different dishes at a salad bar. And now you know you don't like. You try the pickled beets you don't like. You had a friend who betrayed you. Now you know what you don't like. And now you can seek what you like. And above all, remember that you have a gift, and that gift is there. It's just a matter of you knowing how to share it, to find your great idea, and to always reveal your magnificence.
Cloris, what's the number one best way that our audience can connect with you?
They can go to my website, David. It's ClorisKylie.com. That's ClorisKylie.com. And they'll see all my resources, some free goodies for you to get started, and, you know, some inspiration to keep you going and to keep that passion alive.
We'll have all the links on the show notes. Cloris, thank you so much for spending time with us today, joining up those dots. And please come back again when you have more dots to join up, because I do believe that by joining up the dots and connecting our past is the best way to build our futures. Cloris Kylie, thank you so much.
Thank you, David.
Cloris Kylie. So she got pushed out basically by some horrible managers, absolutely horrible managers. I wouldn't have trusted them at all. But she made it up as she went along. You know, she was pushed out in a position that she wouldn't have done, but it's turned out good. And the reason it's turned out good is because she's taken consistent action. She's worked towards something, even if at the beginning she didn't really have a clue what she wanted to do. Little by little, you get there. That's the Join Up Dots way, isn't it? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being part of everything. Thank you so much for sharing this show with your friends. If you could spend a moment or two to leave a rating and review on iTunes, I don't ask for that very often at all, but it really is absolute rocket power. I can't ask for more from you. And so if you could do that, that'd be marvellous. But at the end of the day, if you can come back to the next show, even better. Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice that every successful entrepreneur practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.